Well, my initial thought was, is he going to be in the dodgeball games before practice? That was my first thought. Um, it definitely caught me off guard. I was like, wow, because I've worked out with Gilman before a couple years ago, and I thought he was a nice guy, and
Yeah.
I know that he likes to learn, and he's not a guy that's gonna go through the motions and
Yeah.
kind of just because even though some people are hard workers, there's obviously the traditional version of going through the motions, which is they don't work hard, they just show up to practice and they're lazy. But then
Right.
um, there's also the version of going through the motions that's okay. I'm going to go work really hard, but I'm not going to ask any questions. I don't really care if I'm getting better because you'll see people in all kinds of high school rooms and all kinds of college rooms. They go balls to the wall the entire practice, but they don't want to learn anything. They're not
Yeah.
focused. They're not asking questions. They just want to go hard and I don't think that's a very positive way to head into practice. Like I think it's more important to focus on learning rather than going hard. And there's a time for going hard. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing,
Sure.
um, but I know Gilman when I worked out with him at the OTC, he was focused on learning. And when we go live, when it's time to go hard, he would go hard too. So I think he'll be a I think he'll be a really good um, asset to our team. It's just going to elevate the level of wrestling in the Ninety Line Wrestling Club, and we have a lot of good guys in there now.
Yeah, for sure, and it's quickly becoming one of the top RTCs in the country. If you look at just the caliber of guys and their accomplishments and talents, and I'm curious when I had Gilman on the podcast to talk about it, I had said like you're now a Nittany Lion, right? Like you've been a Hawkeye and you'll always be a Hawkeye, but now you're forming an alliance and becoming a Nittany Lion. And I asked him what it meant to him to kind of to develop a new loyalty. And I'm curious when a guy like Gilman comes into the room permanently, or a guy like Snyder from Ohio State, are they no longer Hawkeyes and Buckeyes in your mind? Like they're Nittany Lions
Yeah,
instantly? Like what's that process like?
I think like it takes like I think it is instant because if you're training with people and you're a part of a team, you're gonna start rooting for the people that you're training with because you want them to succeed,
Yep.
just like you would want them to want you to succeed. And so it's kind of a brotherhood when you come like it's kind of weird like to say that um, Gilman would root for Penn State over the Hawkeyes in a duel, but I think that's the way it should be
Yeah.
because that's who he's training with, that's who he's trying to make better, that's who's making him better. Um, and same with Kyle for Ohio State. Like you, I think you got to root for whoever you're training with, which is kind of weird to think about, but it's just the reality, and that's just what it is.
And the beat goes on.